Good boy.
Welcome everyone to today's press conference. We'll start with head coach Troy Taylor and we'll jump right into questions using the raise hand feature on Zoom.
Guys.
Ben, you're up first.
Man, I thought you were going to beat me to it, Troy. Talking to clarity. No, just kind of quickly kind of reflecting on the Washington State victory, just kind of having watched the film, watched the tape. What were you most kind of pleased with after kind of reviewing the film from the game?
Yeah, just overall, just the grittiness of our team, and playing through it, and our defense just continuing to come up with big stops and giving us a chance. Obviously, we struggled in the first half, didn't score any points, but they just continued to keep us in it, and then we were able to make some plays, and really in all three phases.
Troy?
Yeah, Coach, wins are obviously always appreciated by coaches, but winning ugly and winning in a way that might not necessarily be expected by most folks going into the game. Do coaches appreciate wins like that, maybe even a little bit more than normal?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different ways to win, right? So, I mean, obviously the best way to win is get out to an early lead and just kind of stay on top of your opponent. And we have not had that. Obviously, hopefully we'll have those in the future, and then obviously the close ones, and then kind of winning the gritty wins that like we had on Saturday night. So I think you appreciate them all, especially when you're early in a program and building it, and it just having, like I said, tangible results. There's been improvement, and then it hasn't always resulted. We had some games that could have been wins, but weren't. And to be able to figure out a way and find a way to win, especially when you're trailing, 55 minutes of the game, to find a way to win it is pretty pleasing for our guys.
John?
Coach, if I'm remembering correctly, on both the scoring drives and then in the final 2 minutes of the game, you went for it on 4th and 1, and you don't strike me as a guy who kind of comes into a game with a rigid philosophy. I'm guessing it's situational, but tell us about the 4th and 1 calls. I guess confidence in Justin or what you saw in the Washington State defense. Just talk about the boldness there.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just kind of a feel thing, and even the one came off a timeout, so I just kind of asked the guys what they thought. I go, hey, you think we can get it? Should we go for it? And they were yes, let's do it. And I even checked with Coach April, and he's like, yeah, do it. You got to play, go for it, win the game. And so everybody's kind of on board, and I did feel good about Justin and how we were doing up front. And it just seemed like, kind of weighing the odds and giving them the ball back and all that. It seemed like the right decision. And earlier we went for it on 4th down when we were in field goal range. I thought it just gave us an opportunity to put the ball away, and we were moving it on the ground with Justin. So yeah, I mean, and with Karty, you always feel really good about your chances of him making anything around 50 in. So um, I'm always a little reluctant to go for it on fourth down because I'm just so confident that he's going to give us 3 points. And if you go for it and you don't get it, and you're like, man, I had a pretty much a guaranteed 3 points. So, but yeah, you're right. It is a feel thing and how the game's going. And luckily we didn't have to put our defense back out on the field when we're able to kind of wind the clock down. And yeah, that was a great feeling.
Gary?
Coach, your defense had gone into that game, I think, having given up 40 points, several games in a row. And you're playing a team that's pretty high scoring team. I think they scored 38 against Oregon State when they beat them. And now you hold them to 7 points, scoreless in the second half, 4 yards rushing. Were there some adjustments made? Did you guys change the pregame meal or something, or what?
No, it's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think one, I like I said, I think both our coaches and our players, our defensive staff, and they were just really consistent in their preparation, how they treated their players and their preparation, and then our guys just continuing to work and believe. And yeah, same defensive overall philosophy and structure. There were definitely adjustments made going against Washington State and how to play them and all those type of things. So I think it was a really good plan. And then our players executed it. And we talked a lot about just cutting it loose and playing with great freedom, not second guessing yourself. And I think our defense did a tremendous job of that.
Ben?
Yeah, just kind of a question from one of my subscribers was worrying about this. Just kind of looking back at the play-by-play for the box score, you guys had the ball with 151 left to go in first down, and Wazoo had no timeouts. Looks like you guys could have kneeled a bit sooner, but you ran a couple of times. Any reason why you guys didn't kneel sooner, or did you guys just kind of not realize?
No, you're absolutely right. We could have kneeled it a play early, just didn't get that. Didn't have that information early enough. That was an oversight for sure on our part. And so we could have done it a play earlier. You're absolutely right.
Harold?
Oh, hey, Coach. My understanding is the team's now 2-0 when you play the piano at the team hotel. I was just wondering how that started. Is that something you've done in the past? And do you think it'll continue on Saturday?
Superstitious, but I'm, as Michael Scott said, I'm a little stitious. So we might have to find a way to get to piano. You don't want to overthink streaks or whatever it is, right? So yeah, I can hack it up with the best of them on the piano.
John?
Coach Sam Roush had seven catches, seems to be growing as a player. Kind of talk about his growth and maybe his connection with Ashton, maybe uses on the field that's different from Alec and Tiger, and kind of how he's worked his way into the target mix.
Yeah, he's a young, he didn't play much or any tight end in high school. He's really more of a defensive lineman. And so his growth has been tremendous. I mean, the ball skills he showed on the pass from Lambeau, I mean, it was a really good throw and an unbelievable adjustment. And he came up with late hands and adjusted the ball, opened up his hips. So we've seen that in practice where he's just gotten better and better and more comfortable. He's such an eager kid. He wants to be good in all aspects of playing a tight end and the run game and pass protection. He just wants it so bad. And sometimes you can press when you want to be good in everything. And so I think as you get more experience and he's playing more, I think he's become more comfortable and more confident. And so he's, therefore being a little bit more consistent, and he's become a real factor and advantage for us at that position.
Troy?
A couple of personnel things. Didn't see a lot of Alki Gilman, especially, I believe, maybe from late first quarter, potentially on. What's his status at this point? Jimmy Wyrick made the trip. Is he closer? And how is John Humphreys looking?
Yeah, so John is not close right now. AK, we're going to see. We're going to find that out here in the next few days. And then Jimmy has not changed. It's week to week. It's one of those injuries that sometimes they get a little bit stalemate in terms of their improvement. He's working really hard to try and get back. I know he wants to play badly, but we'll see.
John?
Coach, just back to the play that you referred to, the throw from Justin Lamson to Sam Roush to get you to the 1 yard line. Just kind of give us a window into you as a play caller a little bit. I mean, Justin, I think teams think he's going to run. So you want to keep teams honest. Are you aware of kind of that card to play and maybe future games and what you put on tape as far as mixing it up a little bit?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, he's such a versatile player. Obviously, he's a great runner. We know he can throw the ball. So trying to utilize him in different packages as both a runner and a passer because he's so versatile. And so on that particular call, I knew I wanted to get to it. I thought we'd have a really good shot. This had to be on the right place on the field. And the protection was really good. Everybody did a great job. In fact, Ash was in on the protection and Tiger Bachmeyer was in on the protection. And then, it was pretty good coverage too. It just took a great throw and an unbelievable catch by Sam. So I would love to take credit for a guy being completely wide open after all the things that went into that play, but he actually covered it well. It just was two guys making great plays.
Ben?
Just kind of thoughts on the Beavers. Obviously, they're having a really strong season, just kind of the challenges that they pose and what you guys are going to have to do to be successful against them.
Yeah, really strong culture that they've created up there. Those guys believe in what they're doing. They do a great job developing those players. I think they're especially tough at home. Watching them play, they play with they're good on the road too, but they're just something special at home for them. I think it's a great crowd. It's a great environment. They've really built that up. They're an explosive team on offense. They got really fast wide receivers. They're quick, hard to get a hold of. They, have a belief in running the football. And then defensively, they're very sound, very aggressive. And, they're typically not a team that's going to beat themselves. And so you're going to have to do it for 4 quarters. You're going to have to play really well. And our guys are up for the task, but it's a great challenge. This is a really, really good football team.
Troy?
Real quick, my memory might be before I get to my real question, my memory might be fading me here a little bit. Eastern Washington, I remember, came to Oregon State and beat them with Cooper Kupp. Were you on that staff that year when they went down to Corvallis?
I wasn't on that staff, but yeah, Cooper Kupp was. I was there when we beat him when we played Washington State. I was there and Cooper Kupp had another game. He had 3 unbelievable performances against Pac-12 teams. I was there for one of them, but no, I was not a part of the Oregon State game.
Okay. No matter what happens this weekend, Stanford has clinched a winning record on the road this season. What does that say about the squad, and what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think just grittiness, toughness, believing in each other, and kind of, going on the road is always one of those things where, there's going to be, a lot against you. In terms of the crowd and the environment being a little bit more uncomfortable in terms of your preparation and all those things. So we try to keep everybody the same, but I do think it displays kind of your mental toughness as players and as a team to go in and know that it's going to be everything's going to be kind of against you, and you're going to have to focus in, show great resolve. And our guys have done a great job of that. So very proud of that. As you guys know, this level of football, very difficult to win conference games on the road. So I'm really proud of our guys.
John?
Coach, I was asked on a radio show from Oregon yesterday, what accounts for the defense, and I found myself saying words you're saying, grittiness, but I also found myself saying, well, it's practice and the reps that you talk about. Can you give us an example of, or maybe just do you agree with the statement that what you're seeing in practice or what you saw maybe last week in practice translated into the performance that we saw?
No, I think you're right. I mean, we're a new program in terms we all got here in, most of us in December and early January, and young and experienced team, and growing and learning the system and learning the details of the system, and the adjustments you make within the system. And so I think there's always an adjustment process with your team, from no matter how much you practice in spring and fall camp. Once you get into games, you really see, what you're good at, maybe what your liabilities are a little bit, and then being able to adjust. And then also for the players, really understanding the system and how it works collectively. Now, we have really smart guys, but still a lot of it is, experience. You've got to get out there and feel what it feels like and how to play the defense, because this is different than what they're used to. So I think the credit in that. Now, we have a huge challenge this week against Oregon State, but I think the credit goes to our defensive staff, and then our defensive players who just continue to work really hard. And we work a tackling circuit, every day, and just continue to hone in on those skills, not losing sight of the fundamentals. So I think our coaching staff and our players have just done a great job. And then they've had the growth mindset, of we can get better, we will get better, as opposed to, hey, we had a tough couple of games. No one, has given in at all. The willingness to come out and grow and improve and accountability, all those things that go into it, are exceptionally strong on this team. And that's why one of the reasons I'm so excited about the future is we have the tough stuff that you need, the resiliency, the character, the culture that we're establishing. We just continue to do a good job in recruiting, and we're going to be an incredible program.
Troy?
Oregon State very effective in running the ball, as you mentioned. They have that commitment to it, and they certainly have the personnel to do it, both with Martinez and the offensive line as well. What sort of things go into Oregon State and the effectiveness of its running game?
Really good coaches. Jim Mahalichek is our offensive line coach. Watched him at Cal for a really long time when I was doing radio and just following the program. They're really good up front technically. They bring in guys that are not always the most highly recruited guys, and they develop them. And then they're committed to their system and their scheme in terms of running the football. And they stick with it. And I think, they've gotten better and better each year. And now they're playing really good defense, so they can be a little bit more patient and stubborn with the run game, because they're not playing from behind. And so I think it's all of those things, but it's really a culture that they've created there. It was something that they wanted to do. They wanted to be able to run the football, and they've built their program around that.
Ben?
Just kind of going back to Lampson and you guys' ability to kind of convert on those fourth downs. Just what is the key to executing? I mean, obviously, just execution is the answer to my question, but what is the key to successfully time after time converting on fourth downs when it seems like the defense knows what's coming?
Yeah, I think part of it's execution, but I think part of it is just Justin Lampson being a competitor. I mean, some of the plays are blocked up really well, and some of them aren't, and he just kind of finds a way. And I do believe that there are certain people that have competitive greatness and just won't be stopped. And he's one of those guys. That doesn't mean he's going to get it every time, but it certainly gives you a chance. And then also, he's a very physical runner. He runs through tackles, he finishes it, and he's got really good vision. And so, he's not 100%, but he gives you a chance that if he had a little bit of daylight, I think he wants it so badly that he's going to find a way to make it happen.
Gary?
Yes, Coach. The Beavers are more well known for their running game, but they've actually got a pretty good passing attack now with two quarterbacks. The guy from Clemson, DJ. I won't try to pronounce his last name, and they've got a freshman named Childs who's really impressive. What do you think of that? Their passing game and their quarterbacks.
No, I agree with you. I've watched the other side of the ball mostly, but you're right. And I think it does start up front with the ability to run the ball. It helps for you to protect and take shots. They're a very good shot team. Their wide receivers are extremely explosive, kind of smaller guys they're hard to get a hold of and stay on. And then the quarterbacks have done a good job. I've known DJ and recruited him when I was at Utah. Really talented and great kid. And then the other quarterbacks is good as well. So they got everything they need to be an explosive offense. And again, they're good on defense where they can be patient. They don't have to press at all because they have so much confidence in their defense.
John?
Coach, I'm impressed by young quarterbacks, including the ones you have, seem to kind of know when to get out of the pocket and throw the ball away. And Ashton has done that. The pass that was intercepted, can you give us a window into the teaching that went into that? Just trying to force it. Maybe you said, did you teach him on the sideline after the play, or was it something that waited until we all got back?
Yeah. It was a bad decision, and I don't think he saw the defender. And he's trying to make a play, and you're absolutely right. He has been tremendous in taking care of the football and throwing it away at the appropriate time, not taking sacks. I believe we've had 5 games that we have not turned the ball over, and so that's pretty exceptional. And so it gives you a chance. So, and he has been a huge part of that. So you're absolutely right. He's done a great job. That was a mistake. Luckily our defense came through and on a short field, and I think they forced a field goal that was missed. But yeah, that was something that he has not done in a while. There's been a couple of picks, but they were totally different scenarios. One was, don't have to go through both of them, but you're right. It was a poor decision, and we did talk about it off the sidelines. He knew that he had made a mistake. He should have checked it down. But he'll learn from it.
Ben?
Just want to get your thoughts on Scotty Edwards and kind of his development over the course of the season and just kind of what he's been able to bring to your secondary.
Scotty's a tough kid. Love him. Just his preparation and tackling, and he's just always engaged, and he's gotten better and better with each week. So really excited about him. He personifies a lot of what our guys have, that toughness and resiliency and focus. And then making that interception was huge, and trying to do something with it afterwards and getting some more yards. So Scotty's been a really good player for us, and will continue to be a big part of this program.
Any other questions for Coach Taylor? Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Coach
Thanks,
Taylor.
guys. Go Cards.
I don't think he needs any introduction, but we're here with kicker Joshua Karty. We'll take questions in the same way we took them for Coach Taylor. John, you're up first.
Joshua, how do you react? You react when you get like a Player of the Week citation from the conference? Like, do you get it by email? Do the coaches call you up? And just kind of, how do you've had a lot of them, so you kind of become old hat, but to share with us if you would.
Yeah, thanks for having me today, first off. But I kind of find out the way you guys all find out. I see a post on like Instagram or something, or I get tagged in a post. Like I get out of a lift get back to my locker, and I just get a couple notifications like that. Honestly, it's not a huge deal within the team, I would say, but they're personally, they're always really nice to get the accolades like that, to see the people. First off, it takes your coaches, I think, nominating you for those Player of the Week awards, and so it means a lot for them to choose me out of all the great players that we had on special teams this week. Flint coming in, making some stellar punts, as well as Kaz making a really good tackle on that kickoff return for them. But so yeah, I know it starts with that, and then it means a lot to be chosen from the conference as well. It's a testament to a lot of the work that I've put in.
Ben?
Just kind of what is the key to your ability to make, kicks under pressure? I know the one you made on Saturday was a chip shot distance-wise, but still, there's a lot of college kickers that would miss a kick under pressure like that. Just kind of what is the key to being calm and consistent and just being able to reliably knock those down?
Yeah, I think it starts with a lot of trust. I have a lot of trust in the protection. All the 9 guys up front, they've been doing a great job. I have a lot of trust in my long snapper Bailey, who's been doing this for a really long time. He's really good at what he does, and then a lot of trust for my holder Connor. So that's where it starts. When you're in a high pressure situation, just having faith in the guys around you, to know that it helps to be perfect, but even if you're not quite perfect, they can save your ass sometimes. But that's where it starts, and then I'd say it just becomes kind of like any other kick. I would say really, there's a lot of pressure in every kick, just because of trying to get points on the board for your team. If it's in crunch time, there could be more pressure, but there's a lot of pressure for every kick, and so I think it just boils down to having that routine that you practice all the time, so you don't really have to think about it as much when it comes to the moments that count.
Troy?
Yeah, Josh, as I'm looking at it right now, weather might not necessarily be a factor in Corvallis. Might be cloudy, might be a little bit chilly with highs in the mid 50s, so it should be okay. But weather, a little bit of a factor in Pullman last week. What sort of variables did you have to take into account last week up in Pullman?
Yeah, first real quick, to shout out Coach Dietrich, our strength coach. Before the game, he said it's going to be partly cloudy with a 100% chance of I don't give a crap. So, going along those lines a little bit, going into the games, never really prepare too much for, is it going to be raining? Is it going to be super windy? Ice, maybe, I don't know. But I do incorporate some of it into my mental visualizations beforehand, just playing out a couple of different types of scenarios. I've played at Washington State's field 2 years ago, and the wind was very similar to how it was back then. So that was, a little bit helpful. As far as the rain, it wasn't too bad. Actually, when it's a little bit drizzly like that, I'm from the East Coast, so when it rains in North Carolina, it comes down really hard for a really short amount of time. But up in the Northwest, it comes down, kind of sprinkly for a really long time. So the rain wasn't too bad, when it was coming down, but it actually helps a little bit because you can see the raindrops moving in the wind, and so you can tell kind of exactly where the wind's blowing at all different layers in the stadium. But honestly, for me, I try to keep my mentality pretty much the same as possible. It makes much more of a difference for, I'd say, the snapper and the holder having to dry off the footballs as well as possible, and then hoping that the footballs are kind of drying the games too, and then just getting some extra work during the week with kind of wet ball drills.
John?
Josh, talk about your adjustment to a new holder. I watched Ryan Sanborn punt for Texas this week, and it just occurred to me, oh yeah, he was your holder. So you have a new holder this year. Is there a kind of breaking in process? I mean, how obviously you're still successful, but talk about how adjusting to it, what it's like to adjust to a new holder.
Definitely, yeah. And I would say the breaking in process kind of started in last December. So, I mean, we only started officially working together September 1st of this past year in Hawaii, but we've been working with each other every week for the entire calendar year. And so that's been really important to me to get the time with Connor. He's been a great holder so far. He's really put in a lot of time and mental energy into that part of his game. It's not everyone's favorite thing to do. Even going back to high school, it's kind of hard to find someone who wants to hold a football or stay 5-10 minutes after practice, get practice some holds. But he does put the work in, and I really thank him for that. And then you did mention Ryan. He held a game-winning field goal this past weekend against Kansas State, so super happy for him as well.
Ben?
Is there any weather challenge you would like to experience? You see guys, kicking in like completely blizzards of snow, or is there any kind of weather challenge you haven't had that you would like to experience as a kicker? Like, man, that'd be kind of fun to maybe try that.
Yeah, good question. I've never kicked in snow. That's pretty much, I mean, except for like, tornadoes or hurricanes, that's pretty much the only realistic weather condition that I haven't gotten a chance to play in. And so I think it would be fun to have like, a game that's kind of like a whiteout where, you might have to change a couple of things in your technique to account for, walking on ice. So that would be pretty fun. I remember Tyler Bass last year in the NFL, doing a big like slide after hitting a game winner in some like cloudy snow in one of the games last year. So that would be pretty fun to get to play in a snow game.
John?
Josh, I know the temptation will be to answer the following question. I'm just thinking about what we're doing now and what I'm doing, helping the team and whatnot. But everybody at Stanford wants to progress, move on to a career or something that they're naturally talented in, and you obviously have gifted as a place kicker. What do you think about the next level? What do you think when you watch Harrison Butker or Justin Tucker, people that in my mind you have comparable leg strength to, and thinking that there's a lot of other good kickers around the country and how hard it is to advance to the next level, kind of where you are right now at this point in your life. What do you think of when you think of the NFL and your possibility of working there?
Yeah, it's definitely the dream. Still is. It always has been. That's kind of why I got into kicking in the first place. But yeah, I mean, when I watch those guys, when I watch NFL games in general, I usually root for stops on fourth downs and in the red zone, unlike everybody else. So I root for when a field goal happens, and all my friends around me make fun of me for that. But when I see the guys play, like Harrison Butker, a two-stepper who has similar, some similar aspects in his form to me, and then similarly Justin Tucker. Like I watch them, and I like to see, kind of just like analyze their film in real time, just see what they do, and then see. I'm also a fan and a spectator, so I watch it and react, and I have fun with it too. But when I think of the next level, first and foremost, the focus is on the last 3 games of this season, the regular season right here, before any of that thought comes up. But it's my dream, and I'm gonna continue chasing it for as long as possible.
Troy?
Yeah, take us inside the specialists room and that position unit, the guys' characters, what the mood of the room generally is like. Just kind of take us inside that side of it.
Yeah, coming off a game like this past game where it's 10-7 and special teams plays, just as big of a role as offense and defense. Every single point matters, even though it's just a couple opportunities for the guys in our room. The mood is really good. We have one of the best rooms in the country, and we've always believed that since before the season, and we still believe that now. There's been some rotation for the punters for most of the season with Connor and Flint, and they're both handling it very well, rooting for each other. because at the end of the day, it's not about personal success. It's more about team success. And so we've been, working through the nitty gritty with that, and just rooting each other on like we should. And then, as well as just getting the work in, in practice to prepare ourselves for the games.
John?
Josh, you mentioned the punters and then the two of them, and they both get work. You have a backup in Emmett Kenny, and he sustained one of the freakiest injuries ever a couple of years ago at Arizona State. Can you kind of walk us through how you may have helped him or supported him? Because for a kicker to have an injury like that, especially, I think it was his first time on the field, if I'm not mistaken. What do you remember of that, and kind of how you helped your teammate and through that, if you did?
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching that game from home, and I was really kind of heartbroken for him when that incident happened. But it's more of he learned from the incident himself a lot more than I could really help him with anything. It came from a lot of over kicking, in fall camp and a little bit in the off season. Just there's a lot of wear and tear on the same few muscles. So someone in our position, similar to like, I don't know, maybe a professional weightlifter, you don't hit bench press like 7 days a week. You don't hit, 100 reps of bench press in one day. You kind of limit your reps to very specific targets each and every day, especially in fall camp when you have the most amount of practices, as you will in the entire year. So I think that was really the learning curve for him, and he's been doing great ever since with this body. And I was really, it's a lot of competition even in the off season when you might think as an outsider that the kicking job is all said and done. There's still a lot of competition between me and him every day, and he makes me a lot better kicker than I would be without him.
Last question goes to Ben.
Yeah, just kind of talk about your soccer background a bit, how much you kind of grew up playing the game, and how much do you feel that playing soccer helps with field goal kicking, and maybe vice versa, kind of the relationship there, and the differences between the two kind of kicking styles and all that.
Yeah, I'd say, the biggest difference in general between playing soccer and being a kicker in football is, as a soccer player, I played 90 minutes a game. I was mostly a defender, sometimes a midfielder, but you get the ball 50 times a game, and if you mess up once or twice, that's all right, because you have a chance right then to win it back from the other team, or you have a chance to do something with it the next time you get the ball, which is probably not too long afterwards. And whereas kicking, you spend most of the game on the sideline, observing your teammates, supporting them. And then you get very specific moments to go in the game and execute. And you don't really have a lot of opportunities usually to make up for mistakes like you do in soccer. So I think that's the biggest difference is, the amount of time spent on the field as a soccer player versus a football player. As far as like the technique, it's, a lot different, actually. It takes soccer players generally a couple of years to really feel comfortable being like a full-time place kicker in football. In the beginning, you can have success, but your technique will always be like changing slowly every week, because you're still getting acclimated to kicking a football instead of a round soccer ball.
All right. Thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we will finish things out with Tristan Sinclair. Any questions, we will use the raise hand function. Ben, you're up first.
Yeah, hi Tristan. Just kind of react, just kind of after kind of watching some of the film, just kind of thoughts on the Washington State win and just kind of what you guys did most well defensively to hold them to single digits.
Yeah, I think it was obviously a great defensive effort. Guys were playing hard, rallying to the ball, and I think the first half though we struggled tackling, but then we got a lot better in the second half with that. And I think the pursuit was really good. I think the effort and violence was really good in the box. And then obviously our back end held up pretty well against a really good quarterback.
Troy?
Yeah, Tristan, good to see you. I think back to that sequence after Ashton throws the interception in Washington State, I believe gets a first down. Then they're facing 2nd and 1 inside the Stanford red zone. Then those back-to-back sacks by Franklin and then Lieber leading to the missed field goal. Take me through that sequence as you remember it and how it kind of set the table for what happened the rest of the way, especially defensively.
Yeah, sure. I think anytime that we get in sudden change, it's obviously like a great opportunity. It's exciting. I think that, some teams take the field and go shoot, our offense coughed up the ball and, we're on a short field and all this, but I think that our mindset is always like every time we get out there to take the field, it's exciting and we want to be out there and we want to be put in a tough situation. So I think that's just our mindset as a defense, and that's kind of how our guys are. So I think that was kind of the mindset, but obviously 2 huge plays by our guys up front and then Mitch off the edge and stuff. So that was really exciting and, great stop and knock down that field goal. So.
John?
Tristan, what do you think when you go into a game like the one last week where Cam Ward is a bigger quarterback? He can run, he can get out of there. Are there certain principles about he's bigger, principles about tackling because he's bigger or quicker? Like what give us a window into your mind when you're going into a game playing a quarterback like that?
Yeah, that's definitely something we talked about in the week. I think that he's like an average sized guy, but he's very elusive. Is like what we had spent a lot of time on. So a lot of the defenses we're dropping 8. We always kind of had a spy, and that was something that I was doing a lot of. And just kind of once we get the opportunity to trigger and go and get after him. And obviously in the first half, we struggled a lot to bring him down, and he broke a ton of tackles and was elusive and made plays. And we kind of knew that heading into the game that he was going to be that guy, and definitely one of the most elusive quarterbacks we faced. But it is something that we prepare for in the week of and try to emphasize in the practice week.
Ben?
Yeah, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on Guy from Bernadelle and just kind of what he's kind of brought to the linebacker room this season.
Yeah, sure. Obviously GB's my brother. Love that guy. So, GB's been a great addition. I think that the thing that I love about him most is just like he loves football. He's a football guy through and through. He shows up every day with the same energy, same intensity, and same passion. And that's something that I've really appreciated from him, since the day he showed up here. And he's got great juice and is a great leader on our defense, and I love playing next to him.
Troy?
Yeah, Tristan, statistics are what they are. Numbers are what they are in the game, and you can make whatever you want out of those numbers and interpret them in any way that you want to. And folks made a lot of how, Stanford had allowed 40+ points in 4 straight games coming into last week, things like that. What numbers matter most besides the score, obviously? What numbers matter most to the defense when you're breaking things down statistically?
Yeah, obviously first comes first is the win, right? That's like what matters most, and everyone knows that. But I think defensively, I think we look at like yards per carry, yards per game, and especially like the inside linebacker room, like we get paid to stop the run, so that's like our first thing we look at is yards per rush. And they'll bring up some statistics like yards per game and stuff like that. Third down is another huge one, something that we've been emphasizing a lot because we've struggled on third down. So we're trying to, mix up our looks and bring some different pressures. But yeah, I would say probably third down and yards per rush are like the big ones we talk about.
John?
Tristan, those of us that fans or those of us that broadcast the game, we've seen the weeks and there've been a lot of rough games, right? As Troy mentioned, a lot of points scored. Can you give us a window into what it feels like to put together a 60 minutes like that, where you go into Washington State, they tend to score a lot generally, but especially at home, and you hold them to 7 points. Just maybe share a conversation too after the game, or what your coaches said to you, when you gathered for film to start this week, just kind of the step you took or the achievement that the game was for the defense.
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously everyone was very like pleased with our performance overall. We held them to basically nothing in the run game, and they weren't the offense that they had been putting up all year long. So I mean, obviously there was like a lot of success that we had. And our coaches celebrated and we enjoyed it, and they're very positive after the game because we put on a good performance. But there's always stuff to learn from. And I think that after the game, there was some stuff to correct, and we went through and talked about. But I think it's always on to like the next game, and we celebrate that night, and talk about the positives, and then we get right back to what we could do better and what we can fix and how we can improve.
Ben?
Cam Ward had one really amazing run where it looked like you guys, I think 3 or 4 guys grabbed his shirt almost, and he makes an amazing throw for 39 yards that leads to a touchdown for them. Just kind of talk, what is the key to bouncing back defensively from a play like that, and just kind of maintaining the belief that more times than not you could still bring him down? Just kind of talk about how, as a defense, you didn't allow a play like that to deflate you for the rest of the game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think every game that you play, there's going to be explosives. There's going to be sudden change. The offense turns the ball over. You're on a short field, or they make a big play. And especially once we get down to the red zone, something our coaches talk about a ton is just playing one play at a time and winning one play at a time. And that's kind of one of our big philosophies on defense is just play one play at a time and just win that one play. So whenever there's like a big play or a sudden change, it's just one play at a time. Like let's win this play, and then we'll win the next one. And that's like something that's really important in the red zone. And something we talk about a ton. So just winning one play at a time, and you win one, you win the next one, and then all of a sudden it's third down, and you put yourself in a position to get off the field or hold them to a field goal.
Troy?
What changes when you go from facing a team that's one-dimensional, either by design or by necessity, to a team that's much more balanced and a bit more physical than the one you faced the week before, like you were facing going from Washington State to Oregon State?
Yeah, I think I mean every week you have to adapt. And even this morning our coach, was talking about like you gotta adapt and get ready for who you're playing with this week. And obviously we went from we're facing a big running back, and a big time run game. And that's just like part of the job. Like every team's different, every player's different. So you got to get ready for the next opponent. And I mean, obviously, like inside linebacker, like we're excited to play this team. It's fun when teams run the ball. It gets kind of boring when it's all spread out and we're just running to the perimeter always, and chasing down receivers. So we're juiced up for this one.
John?
Tristan, you're an upperclassman, so you've been to all these stadiums. What's the distinctive of Oregon State? Either maybe the turf or the noise or what you see, the ambient vision from the sidelines. What's unique about Oregon State?
Yeah, I think every game I play there, it's cold, it's rainy, it's dark. Their fans are juiced up. They're yelling things at you that I shouldn't say on here. So it's a gritty environment for sure. And I actually love playing there. I've always kind of liked it out there. So I'm excited for it. But it's definitely it's a hostile environment, but that's how we like it.
Ben?
Just kind of talk about what it takes. I mean, obviously you're used to this is kind of your job, if you will, to do this, play football. But what is kind of the key to just mentally being able to play such a physical position, such a violent game, being able to get yourself amped up to deliver physical hits against really big guys, and just how does that become second nature? How do you kind of mentally get yourself into a state of mind where I'm going to go out, I'm going to do this really violent thing for like 3 hours,
That's a great question. I think it's kind of funny. Our coach always talks about like you got to get yourself in a bad mood, and it's easy. Like he's a guy that he played football. He played Penn State, and we're looking at the film today, and he's like, "Oh, this is what I play against lead ISO." Like all day, every day, every play. And he's like, if you're gonna play against that, you got to get yourself in a bad mood. So that's something I definitely try to do, get myself in a bad mood before we go out there and play, and even before we go out there and practice. So something I've trained myself to do, I would say. But I don't know. I've always loved like the contact and like the famous quote. What is it? I think Jim Harbaugh said, "The human body craves contact." So I love that, and I've always wanted to play defense, so that's what we do.
John?
Just in the game against Oregon State last year was very painful, I know, for all of you with the last second play. And I guess my question is broader. Coach Taylor talks a lot about resilience, the resilience of the team. My question to you is resilience as a player. When you miss a tackle or when there's an ending like that. I mean, part of this whole big time college sports thing is you guys learning lessons and having to find something when you're feeling awful, when you miss a play or the game ends poorly. Can you share us how you have learned to deal with that or built a scab to that, or how you've gotten stronger dealing with kind of individual setbacks or team setbacks?
Yeah. I think obviously in the course of a game, you're going to miss a tackle, you're going to miss a big play, and, you're going to mess up. So I think it's always like one play at a time and next play, best play. And that's something that, like, all these sayings I have are really just something that, our coach will say like every day in practice, every day in meetings, every day on the field. And it's always like next play, best play. So, if you mess up, you got to go on to the next one and make that the next one. And then what comes also with that is like, if your teammate makes a good play, it's like, oh, like I want to make a good play too. So it's always like next play, best play. And we're always, trying to outdo each other and get better and be competitive in that way.
Troy?
Yeah, ask Coach Taylor this. I want to get your thoughts on this as well. No matter what happens this week, Stanford will finish this season with a winning road record. What does that say about this squad?
I mean, obviously that's awesome. Wins are great. I want to have a winning home record too, though. So I guess we got to work on our wins at home. But I mean, I think that just speaks to how we travel and how we're focused even on the road, and no matter where we're flying to or where we're going, like, we're bringing it. So I think that says a lot about the character of our players and the guys in the locker room.
Any other questions for Tristan? Ben?
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll take us home with this one. I was just kind of get your thoughts on just, Bobby April, his defensive schemes, and just kind of what you think he's done well schematically to put you guys in the positions to be successful.
Yeah. I think something that's crazy about Coach April is just like his play calling, and talk about a guy that studies the film and knows the opponent. They have every week they have something dialed up, and I think that his play calling really speaks to how smart he is and his knowledge of football, just because, whenever they're in the shot zone, he's calling the right defenses or bringing the pressure off the edge when we're getting a boot or whatever it is. I think his play calling is something that's really awesome about him, and just believing in his calls and trusting in his calls is something that we do because he always puts us in a good position.
All right. Thank you so much, Tristan.